My secret, just do something that ain't nobody ever done before, but make it sound like something that's always been there forever.
Hello, welcome to This Filipino-American Life, a podcast that explores the nuanced experiences of Filipinos in the United States. At iba pa. What? I am Joe Bernardo. I'm joined by my fellow co-hosts,
Ryan Carpio.
Dolores.
Mike.
What was that?
What's happening?
No, I got Pop Rocket in the brain, that's why. So, you know how Guy Branum,
Yeah.
what's his name?
Guy Branum.
Branum, yeah. Anyways, listen to that podcast. Oh, actually, you can't anymore. Never mind.
R.I.P. Rocket.
Welcome to This Filipino-American Life. This new slew of episodes, we are going to bring you interviews that we did in Vancouver, Canada.
What? That's not America. You mean This Filipino North American Life?
Yes.
What did we get there? How did we? What?
Yeah.
That's
Took a
awesome.
train.
Did we actually do that?
Through NAFTA.
We did.
Tiefnan.
Tiefenau.
Yeah.
Tiefenau.
Yeah.
So last month we were able to go to Vancouver during our trip. And so we went to Seattle, and then after that we went to Vancouver.
Canada.
Yes. It was an excellent time.
Loved it.
Yeah.
Was it though?
It was.
It started off a little rocky.
Yeah, I don't know about that though. Their border patrol over there.
Dude, are you guys all looking at me like I was the reason why we got
You
stopped? I was
did.
probably the reason we got stopped.
Right. So for those of you who don't know, we took a train from Seattle to beautiful Vancouver, Canada. And as we were going through customs, for some reason, we were randomly selected, and Ryan was told to keep his card.
Yeah, I was
and
the only
we
one.
then were talking to customs agents
For a really long time. Actually.
we were
They
the
searched our
last
bags.
people to leave from our train.
Did anybody else search your body persons? No.
No.
What? They didn't. Just the
Yeah,
bags.
just all the cavities. Check my teeth.
They had to check all of our podcast equipment.
Mm-hmm.
They had to check all the salami that I smuggled into Canada.
What?
Yeah,
Did you
yeah.
really?
Oh, yeah, he had food.
I got salami from
Slim Jims don't
Salumi.
count.
He had salami from Salumi. That sounds made up, but
It's a real place.
Yeah. And so we were getting searched.
I like that they were trying to ask us like really normal questions, but trying to figure out if we were troublemakers.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, cool. So you guys have a podcast. So what do you guys record? What do you talk about?
And they're all asking us the same questions to make sure all our stories are straight.
And they weren't.
Yes.
And of course, we asked them like if they liked poutine, and like
Yeah, so
they're like no.
I tried to do a little diversion so that we could get out by engaging with the border folks and being like, so we hear there's poutine in this country. Where should we go? And the border agent was like, well, actually, I hate poutine. I'm like, womp womp. This is not going to go well. We're probably going to stay here a little longer. And we did.
But they were Canadians after all, and they were super nice in the end.
They were.
Yeah,
they
at
were.
least they used a
So.
glove.
They said
jokes.
no. They said normally if I was an asshole, I would take the salami.
Oh, really?
But the guy just let it go. So
Yes, I do remember
Yeah,
saying
right?
that.
You would have been so sad.
I would have been. Oh yeah, dude.
Joe, the failed salami smuggler.
What you talking about?
Well, and I was super sorry. I was super paranoid too because in Seattle, cannabis is legal, and then they had a sign that said if you have anything, you have to claim it. And our friend was going to give me an edible to take on the trip, but I was like, it's all good. I need to be sober for the most part on this trip.
Are you saying you take DRUGS, Elaine?
What?
You mean edibles, like delicious things that are good for you? Yes, I take those. Drugs are really expensive.
Are you smoking that dope?
No. Who are you, my dad?
Are you hitting that dick?
Adik sa'yo. But I didn't, and I'm glad I didn't, because I think if I had taken it with me and we had been questioned, I would have been super scared.
So you're still saying it's my fault? Is that what you're saying?
I'm Ryan. I'm looking at you saying
You're the one with the asterisk on your name.
It was so true.
you had an asterisk on
No,
your
it was just funny because they put one pile was all of your guys'
our
little
customs,
forms,
yeah.
and then my pile had just this giant red mark on it, and I was like, "The fuck?" I'm like, "They're with me."
Oh, we totally got stopped then because of you.
It was me.
Next time, we're leaving you.
Because
okay.
Ryan, the Bachelor.
The
The Bachelor.
The Bachelor.
Oh, so the night before we left for Seattle, because our flight was like at 7 a.m., right? So I had to get to the airport super early. I slept over at Ryan's place.
Oh yeah.
You totally have a bachelor pad, man.
I know. There's like nothing on.
Oh
the
my
walls.
god! And like the bathroom, dude.
Yeah, I know, right?
I need the tetanus shot.
Shut up. What? It looks nothing. It's like a prison bathroom. I told you to wear the flip flops.
The Bachelor. But Elaine, that was your first time going to Canada,
That
right?
was my first time going to Canada.
What did you think?
It was cool. It's like America, the States, but nice and
Yeah, our crummy country.
and clean. And
We were like, everyone should break their arm while we're here. Get it out of your system.
it was super cool. I got a stamp in my passport, which
Oh,
they
that's
don't
right.
normally do, but I made a special request and they stamped all our passports because I thought that was neat.
Yeah.
It was, I don't know, it was cool. I've never been to Canada before, and now I can say I've been to the hat and socks of America because I've been to Canada and Mexico.
Oh,
What?
that's very American centric for you.
I know. That's
What's Alaska then?
the earring, the piercing.
The spout of the teapot.
Hawaii then is the sugar.
I don't know.
So yeah, we went to Vancouver and talked to a lot of community folks. If you don't know, Filipinos are actually the fastest growing immigrant population in Canada.
Super fast.
Very fast, and I'm not sure if it's a higher rate than the U.S., but they are the fastest growing immigrant population above Chinese and Asian Indians. And we got to hang out in the Fraser Street neighborhood.
Oh, that's right.
Yes.
Courtesy of the office of Mabel Elmore, who is the member of Legislative Assembly.
Or an MLA. Learned that.
Yeah.
We learned that.
That is actually the equivalent here in the States as like a state assembly person or state representative, whatever representative you have in the state level government. They have it for their province. Yes. And we just want to give a special shout out to RJ, Sammy Joe. They were like wonderful hosts and helped set up a lot of the interviews that we did. To MLA Mabel Elmore, she was awesome. To Renee, Maureen, and RJ, JL, JR.
so many J's.
He's not making this up. He's not making this up.
Babette, and Tita Boots.
Oh, that's right.
Tita
Boots. Tita Boots. She was awesome.
Tita Boots worked in MLA Mabel Elmore's office,
Yes.
and she took care of us
Yeah.
while we were in the office. And I was so excited to meet Tita Boots because at PwC there is Ate Boots who would work in the office, and she would always take care of us too. So it was kind of nice that we had like a Canadian equivalent
Of a
her.
Boots.
Of a Boots.
Nakanda.
Terrible.
Hey, that was Mike's joke back.
But Tita Boots did point out that she spells her name with a Z.
What?
So B-U.
So
B-O-O.
ZBOOTS?
Silent Z?
Silent Z? Zaboots.
I did appreciate that she said Z because my brain had to translate to she means Z, Elaine. She means
No,
Z.
she meant Z. You meant Z.
Wait, what's Z anyway?
Z.
Z. That's how
That's how
people-
Canadians?
Yeah, because
That's
that's
a British
a
thing,
British
yeah.
thing.
They don't say Z, they say Z.
French-
They don't
It's a
say
French
that.
thing.
know
Yeah.
that.
They don't say aluminum. They say aluminium.
Which is wrong, but
Why is that wrong?
because it's not spelled like that.
They don't say sorry. They say
Sorry.
I
In
apologize.
America, we don't apologize. That's why.
I apologize to Canada because the moment we got to Canada, I actually did say sorry, and I didn't know why. I was like, "What the hell? Where'd that come from?"
I kept looking for like Degrassi High. Apparently, it's not there. Joe's looking at me like, "What's Degrassi?"
What is that?
That's where Drake came
Oh
from,
my
bro.
God.
What the
Oh,
hell?
duh. Okay,
It's a
never mind.
teen drama.
Okay.
It was a soap opera.
I get it.
Drake
Yeah.
is crippled Jimmy. That was his real name in the show
Got it.
because he got shot
I didn't know that.
and put in a wheelchair because he was a gangster
Yeah.
that played basketball. I don't know why I know these details.
So what was your favorite part of being in Drakeland?
They
Canada,
was-
but by the way, Canada's huge, right? Drake's from like the east side, isn't
He's
he?
from Toronto.
He's from Toronto.
We were only in Vancouver.
Yeah, we're only in Vancouver, so let's not.
My favorite
but-
thing about Canada was Tim Hortons. It is better than Dunkin' Donuts. It's the best coffee I've ever had, and the donuts were amazing.
Oh, the cappuccino was amazing.
That iced cappuccino was crack.
I don't drink coffee, but I'll totally drink that every day.
We did drink it every day, but like we were only there for 3 days, and that people are really nice.
Yeah, they were really nice.
We witnessed the most Canadian bus argument, and it was people who were friendly but angrily
Talking
agreeing
about
with-
hockey.
yeah, talking about hockey, but agreeing with each other in such a enthusiastic way about how their team sucked and that the coach is terrible.
With all due respect, bro, fuck you. Is what I heard. At least he said with all due respect.
Yeah.
Fuck you, but I don't agree with that.
And what else? Oh, we noticed that the buses apologize that they're not running.
Oh yeah.
Because
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I remember
so-
I said, "Oh, it says sorry, not in service."
It said sorry, not in service. And in LA, when a bus doesn't run, it just says not in service.
And then the guy flips you off. See ya.
but in Vancouver, they do things like say sorry.
Yes.
I got to visit some parks,
Yes.
particularly Park Casino in Vancouver. That's spelled PARQ. I was like, this is a really nice park. I can hike here. So I hiked an escalator up to play some cards.
Stupid.
I won $30.
You've been saving this joke for a while.
I
Right?
haven't. I just made it up. I'm like, well, what's this place called? Park.
Yes.
It was a really nice place to recreate,
Yeah.
experience nature.
Yes.
The natural forms of poker players in a poker room. So it was good.
I was really excited that we got to be in a place that is the location for so many Hallmark movies that my parents watch.
And Jackie Chan Bronx movies.
Rumble in the Bronx. Because Vancouver is a replacement for the Bronx.
Rumble in the van.
Van City.
Oh, that's right. Van City.
Mike got to eat ice cream
Huh?
I did.
in Vancouver. You had that Tim Tam thing.
Oh, yeah. Well, I need ice cream everywhere we go, so
Yeah.
it's kind of a given.
What else did we do?
Beaver.
Oh,
It was International Beaver Day while we were there.
Oh, yeah, and if you follow us on social media, you'll see our picture of us and the Roots store beaver.
Yeah, we made the Tita's Day when we went shopping there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It was
You
interesting.
got a big commission.
totally.
I mean, like you say that like Filipinos are the fastest growing. Like, have Filipinos always had like a strong presence in Vancouver? Because the thing that I noticed, like whenever we went out to eat or like wherever, like you always felt like there was something Filipino kind of infused in the menu, even if it wasn't like
Yeah.
a Filipino place necessarily.
Yeah, that place that we got our first dinner at, because we had 2 dinners that one night. They had a pandan drink, but the venue was just like a gastropub.
Oh, okay.
I think that was the drink I got, and there
Well,
was
pandan, yeah, pandan's really Southeast Asian.
Yeah.
So it's not specifically Filipino, but yeah, Filipinos do have a strong presence in Vancouver. I forgot the numbers, but I think, well, it's the second largest Filipino community in Canada. Number 1 is Toronto.
Mississauga.
Yeah. Well, just Toronto, the GTO.
Toronto in general,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And then second is the Vancouver metro area. And so I forgot what the percentage of Filipinos in Vancouver is, but it's, yeah. It's
I mean, did you guys have any concept of Vancouver before going? Because I mean, I had gone there because I have an aunt there, but this was like the 80s, like as in like the World Expo era of Vancouver. So literally, because I went to the World Expo and went to a giant jeepney, and there's a giant Carabao statue, I think, and all this other stuff. I should dig up those pictures for this episode.
Yes. No, I've been to Vancouver maybe a couple of times before that. I lived in Seattle, so I would take a weekend trip or something to Vancouver. But yeah, it was very. It just feels like in the U.S., but there's little differences here and there. Yeah.
I went to Vancouver like 10 years ago. I also got stopped at the border. So
Oh my God!
it's like, we don't want this guy over here. Bring him back to the
Ryan's
States.
fault.
Yeah, that was at the. I drove into Vancouver with my friend.
And you got stopped then.
Yeah, they asked me to pull over.
Wow, Ryan.
Yeah. I don't know.
Who knew we were traveling with such an international man of mystery?
I know. We're gonna find out. We're gonna find
Dangerous.
I just was really excited to be in Canada because I don't think I'd ever really had aspired to go there. The only thing I really knew about Canada is that my parents have friends who live in Mississauga, and they've stayed with us when I was a little kid, and they told me like, yeah, it's cold there, there's snow, like all the stereotypical Canada things, and I'm like, all right, that's cool. I live here where it's sunny like 300 days of the year, so I don't know what you're talking about. But yeah, it was interesting talking to like the folks and how like our experiences here in LA and how they have been listening to the show and how they translate over there. I was surprised to know that like a lot of the Filipinos we talked to were not into hockey, because I thought if you're in Canada, you have to be into hockey. But no, they filled the stereotype of being basketball fans, and I appreciated that.
And it was really cool too, just being welcomed by our newfound friends in Canada. And we broke bread like first. Was that our first night?
That was our first night.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
we got in there early in the morning, and then that night we had dinner with there's about maybe a dozen of us.
Like a dozen of us, yeah.
Shout out to RJ and Sammy Joe for organizing a Kamayan dinner.
Yeah.
Welcoming us to Vancouver.
Yeah, it was at
great.
Culinaria.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And what's the name of the coffee?
Oh yeah, Cafe Coffee.
Yeah.
The folks were there. We were going to meet up with them, but they fell ill. So we'll just have to go back to Vancouver and then talk to them.
And then I also want to give a shout out to Rainier Jasildo or Hasildo. He had a concert in Vancouver.
Oh, that's right.
And he
tried to
invited,
message us.
he messaged us to invite us to the show. Unfortunately, we couldn't make it, but thank you for the kind gesture. I hope the concert went well.
Yeah. And another key memory from this trip is that this trip fell on WrestleMania weekend,
Oh my
and Ryan and Joe got to witness me cry.
Oh, it's true.
Tears of joy when Kofi Kingston won the WWE Championship belt, and Ryan and Joe looked at me like I was a crazy person.
No.
No, you looked at me like I was crazy.
Yeah.
Not crazy, but I was like, oh, okay. Wow, she's really into it.
And then Mike was in the bathroom, so he didn't have to see what he normally sees of me
Every
freaking out
Monday,
at
Tuesday,
wrestling.
special events, etc.
It was a big deal that Kofi won, and yeah, I'm glad they got to witness that amazing moment in my life.
Yes. And just before we go on to the interviews, I just want to make a pitch to become a TFAL Patreon. Obviously, traveling to a lot of these places throughout the Filipino diaspora is not cheap. And your Patreon contributions actually helped. It doesn't pay for everything.
It definitely did not.
It's subsidized a little bit. But yeah, if we have more Patreons, we could go to more cities and to
Like Pittsburgh.
Like Pittsburgh, like Chicago, like Hawaii. Well, that's not a city. I mean, like
Jacksonville,
Oahu,
Virginia Beach,
Toronto.
We want to check out all
Austin.
of the Filipino diaspora, at least here in North America.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then one day maybe we could even go to the Philippines.
Yes. But yeah, that would we really help it if you become a TFAL patron, and we can afford more of these trips. And trust me, it's not all fun. There's a lot of work involved, so it's not like you're paying for us just to party or anything like that. But it'll help a lot in producing this show and bringing the show to your city.
And we are very thankful of your existing patronage of This Filipino American Life. We love to produce and give you guys good shows that widens our perspective just outside of the Los Angeles area. So we truly, truly, truly appreciate you if you're already a Patreon. And if you know someone that wants to be Patreons, tap them on the shoulder and tell them about us.
Elaine is tapping Ryan on the shoulder right now. But yeah, so now we are going to go into the interviews of our folks in Vancouver. So enjoy. We are on location in Vancouver.
Wait. Where are we?
We're international. International.
I thought this was This Filipino-American Life.
No.
I guess
like
it's
a-
North American Life.
Yes.
Is it a special fil-Canadian episode
Yes.
that we're doing?
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
This is amazing that we're actually here.
Yeah.
It's amazing they let me through.
Very true.
We'll get to that later.
But our first interview for this episode, we're going to interview community leaders, RJ Aquino. Welcome, RJ.
Hello, welcome. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
And the first Filipino member of Legislative Assembly here in British Columbia, Mabel Elmore.
Yeah, great to have you guys here.
Yes.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you. Wait, should I ham horn that?
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
People
That
are
deserves a
expecting that.
horn. They're expecting it.
They said they want to hear a lot of it.
I'm sorry. It embarrasses Mike that we do that.
Every time.
Especially since you are a member of a government organization and I just did that. So
I
thank
have
you
to
for.
download that app now.
Oh, yeah. It's called Rap Air Horn.
But welcome.
All right.
Welcome.
And actually, thank you for having us in this space.
Yes.
Yes.
We are in the offices of Mabel Elmore's, I guess, district office, community
Yep.
office.
Yep.
Yeah. So they're lovely enough to host us, and they brought some really good food from
Golden Joy Restaurant.
Golden Joy Restaurant.
Thank you, Golden Joy Restaurant. Your punset is amazing.
Yes.
We think it's because the water is nicer and cleaner here.
Just
Friendlier,
nicer here
definitely
in general.
Friendlier.
Friendlier water.
Yeah. Somehow it's possible.
Nicer pancit.
Nicer pancit. And the barbecue sticks were great. I'm full.
So yeah, we wanted to talk to you about your political journeys here in Vancouver and British Columbia. So why don't you first tell us, where did you grow up and how did you come to Vancouver, both of you?
All right. Okay. This is Mabel here, and I was born in Langley, BC, which is just outside of Vancouver. And my mom's originally from the Philippines. She's from Cebu. She came to Canada in 1965 as a nurse, and met my dad, whose family is originally from Ireland. So they met in Prince Rupert, and I came about shortly after that. Born in Langley, grew up in northern Manitoba. So this is the real north, real
Yeah.
north up there. The snowbanks over your head, that type
Yeah.
of thing when you're a kid.
Wow.
Came back high school here and went to University of British Columbia, and I've been in Vancouver since then.
You're like, it's nice and warm here.
Meanwhile, I'm like, oh.
How about you, RJ?
I was born and raised in the Philippines, and then I was about 10 years old, moved to San Francisco, hence the Giants hat.
He's wearing a Giants hat.
I am wearing a Giants hat. But I have nothing but love for my SoCal brothers here.
yeah. Same right back at you.
The time spent in California pretty much encompassed my teenage years, and moved up here to Vancouver just before the end of high school. Did my last year of high school here, and have been here ever since. Just in Vancouver proper. I've lived here, now have a family, and I kind of don't see myself living anywhere else. It's a pretty awesome place to be and raise a family.
You found a home.
I found a home.
Nice. So any of you, how did you kind of get interested in politics? How did you become politicized? What was that story?
I was gonna say, Mabel, maybe you should, because I'm kind of following Mabel's footsteps, and it would be a good thing for Mabel to kick things off.
Sure. I never thought I'd be a politician. Last thing I thought, right? But I was interested. I volunteered in the community a lot, interested in human rights and social justice. And so I was a community organizer, organizing and advocating on behalf of caregivers, migrant workers for over 25 years.
Wow.
And so somebody asked me, they said, "Oh, we think you'd be a good candidate. Why don't you think about running?" And I decided to throw my hat in. Everybody said I was a big underdog and wasn't going to win, but we had support, particularly from the Filipino community, and who showed up for the first time. I won the nomination against all odds and was elected to create history. Here in BC is the first elected MLA of Filipino heritage, and I really credit that to the grassroots support and support from the community. So it was a big honor.
Give us a timeline. When was this around? What your first?
2008, I ran for the nomination. 2009, I was first elected. Now I've been elected 3 times.
Oh my goodness!
Are there term limits, or can you?
No term limits.
No term limits?
4 years. So
Keep it going, people.
2 terms in opposition. Now 1 term in government.
Yeah.
So it's great to be in government.
Wow.
Gosh.
So, I'm sorry, what was that? Opposition or government? What does that mean?
Opposition means you're in the minority, and so the government party means you're majority. We're minority, but we're able to pass laws. So we passed the Foreign Worker Protection Act, right? We've brought back free tuition for English language learners, new immigrants.
Oh, wow.
Free tuition for adult basic education.
Wow.
If they want to finish grade 12 or new immigrants coming in. No tuition, no interest on student loans, right? This type of thing. So, yeah.
No interest on student loans.
Yeah.
How did you get started as a community organizer?
My heart was for the people,
Yeah.
right? I grew up in northern Manitoba. I went to the Philippines for the first time when I was 10 years old, and to Cebu in Tuburan. And they have a fiesta there, a town fiesta. And my mom's family, their tradition is, they have a big feast for the community. So they had these huge pots, 100-pound bags of rice. They were coming in, they were cooking for days. And I'm like, how come you're cooking all this, pancit and rice and lines of people coming in. So everybody, my mom said, "Oh, we feed the poor people and we share, what we have." And so families and kids came in, ate all they could and as much as they could carry out. And she said, that's just the Bayanihan spirit, right? So that's stuck with me. And my heart was always for the people. And so I think that, people should be treated respectfully, and everybody deserves a good life. So that's kind of what motivates me.
I'm already like, wow. Oh my goodness.
And then I met RJ. I think it was I was elected, my first fundraiser, and I'm like,
Yeah.
hey. And then he was talking to me about...
That's a whole story on its own.
Yeah. And then I said to RJ, he was a young up-and-comer, really passionate about community issues. And I said, RJ, I think you'd be a good candidate. Why don't you think about running?
So what happened? After that?
Really following Mabel's footsteps, following it really is a template that she's put in place in terms of opening this door to the community and having the community recognize and realize that there are different levers to pull in terms of enacting change, and then when we can see ourselves through her doing that work and making those decisions, people end up asking, well, why not? Why won't we step up? And then we do. And then that's kind of sort of the ongoing work that a lot of us are doing, is continuing to, increase the visibility of Mabel's work and the results that she's accomplished. 2, identify a lot of young people that have the same potential, the same motivation, the same drive, the same values, and get them to be more involved, and eventually see themselves in those positions as well. And really, kind of my journey started out with me not having a clue about BC politics. It was when I work in tech, and at the time I was working for eBay, sort of at its peak, when it was, like behemoth.com. And I was sent to the Philippines to help open up an office there. And I was there for a month, and it was kind of a stark. It was an experience seeing the difference between sort of my existence and my previous existence living in the Philippines, and it was completely different, or at least the way I remembered it was completely different from the way I saw it then. eBay paid for everything. I had a driver. I was put up in a nice hotel. Then I would go to the place where I grew up, and it was
Impoverished,
destitute, but the funny thing is, I remember it it was exactly the same. And I didn't have an awful childhood. I had fond memories of where I grew up, but just seeing that nothing's changed, I think that was sort of
stagnation kind of thing.
Yeah, the lack of progress, the lack of improvement, the lack of just overall betterment in people's lives. That really resonated with me. So I ended up like after work, and I had to work a graveyard hours to match up with North American hours. And then after work, I'd get out of the office at like 8 o'clock. And then I'd end up just exploring. Like I went everywhere, trying to just find answers, figure things out, talk to people. And I just it just didn't click with me. It was this cognitive dissonance. It's like, in my experience, in my life, I know Filipinos to be, very hardworking, very smart, and very giving as well. But then there's this environment and situation that doesn't add up. If you take all of those values and characteristics, the positive things about our culture, it just doesn't add up, because I'm seeing all of these things where people are being left behind. I'm lucky enough that I can still speak the language and fit right in, and I went into all the slums. I talked to people, and it was actually such an eye-opening experience, because even though I didn't understand, people helped me try to understand. They recognized that I'm not from there. I'm wearing Jordans on the street, and like I got my iPod, white earbuds hanging off my ear, and I would ask questions. It's like, can you tell me? It was just a wonderful experience seeing how welcoming people are and willing to tell their story. And that kind of put me on a path towards trying to understand things more, how the world works. And then I went back. I did a lot more research, but fast forward to my time here, I ended up becoming a dad. And the moment that I found out I was going to become a dad, that's when I decided to ingrain myself in the Filipino community here, knowing that I could do a lot of research. I could continue to do a lot of, knowledge gathering about the Philippines. But the most immediate change that I can access is within the community here,
and your own family and the future of your kids, probably. Right?
Exactly, and just seeing also the lack of cohesiveness, perhaps in the Filipino community at the time, in terms of if my child were to grow up and want to know more about their identity, what resources were available. For example, there wasn't any, at least not immediately known to me. Even if I tried to look harder, it was like, oh, okay, there's some, but it was not as developed. Right. And then that's when I started to ask around. It's like, oh, who can I talk to? And then Mabel's name came up. And, Mabel is an MLA, yada, yada. At least you should talk to her. She knows everyone in the Philippine community. She can get you connected to other folks who can help build out programs or are interested in building programs. And I'm like, what's an MLA? It's kind of embarrassing.
Language association.
yeah. Isn't that a style?
That's not writing.
It's a citation thing, right? Yeah. I had no idea, and it was embarrassing at the time. And then I was like, okay, I got to take a crash course in like Canadian politics and civics, and only because I grew up in the States, so I know everything about there is like in American politics and governance, but I didn't know anything about Canadian politics and governance. I took a crash course, and then I made sure to not make a fool of myself when I went to that fundraiser, and then it was like a cold call. Like I literally went in there, sat down at a table. I didn't know anyone at the table, and just kind of started talking to people. I'm like, wow, these people are interesting, because they all had sort of that same values, same mentality, same mindset about making people's lives better, and they were there to support Mabel, who was doing exactly that. And then I was like, okay, well, I should talk to Mabel. And then I introduced myself, like just stood in line, people, saying hi to Mabel, like, hi, I'm RJ, and I'm thinking about this stuff, we should talk. And next thing I know,
Next thing you know, Mabel remembers.
Recruiting to everything.
yeah, I distinctly remember the immediate action. I think that was the thing about Mabel, is there's an immediacy to her actions, and the fact that a couple of weeks later, we've organized a meeting of minds in this room downtown, where we end up, or we've invited a whole bunch of folks that are interested in community work, some professors at UBC, and just figuring out what is it that the Filipino community is missing or needs or can come together to work on, to not just talk. It's not just an intellectual exercise.
Right.
It's to actually do something, build something, and just bring about the change that we've
It
identified.
sounds like you were looking for a mentor, and it sounds like Mabel said, I saw that gleam in your eye, and it's like, yes, I got someone new to pick. I got someone new to groom. Is that what happened?
I was a malleable piece of clay.
Is that
Yeah, no, just a lot of potential and passion, right?
Yeah.
And talent. So, no, definitely.
you
that shone
recognize
through.
that in RJ?
Yeah, absolutely.
And you're like, all right, I'm gonna put you to work.
He gave me his number, and I called him up. So
That's all. So learn, for folks listening, if you want to be involved or engaged in your community, really ask these questions and
don't be afraid.
Don't be
right?
afraid,
like,
right?
Like
Yeah.
to be like to not know and to find out. And I think part of I was gonna talk about the Filipino kind of hesitation, or I don't know if it's the shyness or hesitance to put yourself out there and out front. Do you guys experience that? With folks here, like the Filipino community, who are like shying away from politics because maybe the word politics, means something else to them. Definitely for me, like my parents still don't know what I do, politically speaking.
we don't know what you do.
But it's still pretty common in Filipinos in the States. Do you guys experience that here as well? Like it's harder to kind of convince folks that this matters.
Well, in terms of that shyness, right? I think that's a cultural component, and in terms of new immigrants, it's tough, integrating and adjusting. And I think that's what we've identified as a characteristic in terms of our vision for the community is we put out there's more potential for the community. We have big numbers. We're the third largest immigrant group in BC, and Canada the fastest growing, right? But we have more potential to realize, and that has to come through the community believing in themselves, right, and having that confidence and standing up and speaking out. And so it's how to bridge that, right? How to encourage that. So that's an ongoing process and challenge that we put out and encourage folks.
But you
to
were
get
able to
involved.
galvanize a lot of Filipinos for your first election. Can you talk about your first election and bring the Filipino community
for
out?
sure. I mean, I ran, and everybody told me, we know you, Mabel, you're a community activist, you do good work, we like you, but you're not going to win. I ran against a star candidate.
You're not going to win.
Yeah, no, absolutely, straight up. All the political pundits, all my mentors, everybody that I knew in the community, because I was running against a star candidate. So when she came into the race, two other candidates dropped. So it was just me and her, and I was nervous, right? Because she's this woman is very high profile. I called my mother. I said, "Mom, this woman came in, the star candidate. Everybody's telling me I'm not going to win. What should I do? These two other candidates dropped out." My mother, who is not political, right? She's 4'11". She tells everybody she's 5 feet.
Every Filipino mom.
And my parents are not political. She says to me, "Darling, win or lose, you got to go through to the end. Okay? I already told my Mahjong friends that you're in." And so, right? I'm like, like,
You just realized she has a lot of mahjong friends.
oh no, if my mom's telling me this, right, then win or lose. So I stuck it in. We did door to door, we did house to house, right?
You went door knocking?
We went into people's homes.
Oh,
We met them. We had dinner with them. We got to know them. We met their friends. We went back to their houses, 3-4 times. A very concerted on the ground community engagement campaign. Not just, hey, vote for me, but there's a vision. We want to make history. You're going to be part of that if you participate, come out, right? Like we can do that together, to really write the history books and challenge the community. So that was our vision we put out as well, and worked hard. And people came out, they responded to that, and we won the nomination, went into the election, won the election, and there you go. The rest is history.
The rest is history. You're
Yeah.
still
Amazing.
here. You're here.
Yeah.
We still have things changed since then, I guess. I mean, we were talking a little bit earlier about the hesitancy or shyness to even get involved in politics. Do you feel like that moment, maybe like presage a transformation, or is it still hard work to kind of get people to come out to this day?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the history of building the community, right?
Yeah.
We're part of that's an ongoing history. It's a living history. And, RJ's a big part of that. He formed Talion, second generation, right? In terms of the role of second generation. My view as well that we're going to see the movement and the momentum carry with second generation taking up that call. So it's even since then, over the last 10 years, mentioned to RJ, we have a number of professionals who are very successful, including RJ leaders, right, in their fields, lawyers, doctors, all these types of folks in terms of, being positive role models in the community. So change, it's like this, right? Change is, you got to take these small steps to get to qualitative change, right? But you got to take those steps. Sometimes you don't know, are you going to get there, right? It's pretty tough. It's up and down, but it's the journey, and it's doing that together. And it's when, you can look back and you say, these are our goals. This is what we've won. I'll give you an example. I've been organizing 25 years on domestic workers and caregivers' rights, that they should be treated like any other worker and immigrant into this country, Canada. So we just won a significant victory in the last couple of months for caregivers. Canada will now allow caregivers to bring their husbands or spouses with them when they come to work as caregivers. The spouse can come and work on an open work permit, so they can take any job, right? And they can bring their kids, right? So the whole family comes together. Previously, there would be family separation, marriage breakdown, the kids come, the mother's a stranger, then high dropout rates, they don't go to post-secondary, they get into a low-wage cycle, right? So that's going to transform the lives of
so
those
many
families
people.
going forward. And sector-wide work permits. So if they have a bad employer, they don't have to be scared about not changing employers. So those are two wins,
Definitely.
collective wins through, caregivers standing up, speaking out, organizing, mobilizing, the community coming together to support them, right, and delivering that message. And our federal government, the Liberals, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, listening and hearing that and making those changes. So those are a couple wins, right?
Yeah.
Long time in coming,
those are
right?
huge.
25 years, long time,
I was
long
gonna say,
time,
let's
right?
duplicate
But those are, it's tough, right?
No.
It's tough.
I mean, we have
Because that
Aki and,
story it's so telling because it's really like bringing the families together.
Yeah.
And like sadly, like in our experience with the community, the family reunification doesn't happen. And because of that, a lot of the legal
or it happens like 20 years
it
later.
happens 20
basically.
years later. And so what's happening with some caregivers in the city is that they're taking advantage of legal services to get divorced.
Yep.
Because they're no longer married,
Yeah.
right? Like essentially they were living two separate lives.
Yeah.
And so the caregiver in the States is filing for divorce. And also like, cause divorce, I guess, doesn't exist in the Philippines. So they're getting legally divorced in America. And then it's just the family, there's no
Leaves
reuni-
families in limbo, leaves kids in limbo.
Exactly.
So we say there's a huge social cost to that
Yeah.
program, right?
Yeah.
And, we appealed to the Canadian public. We said, do you value families?
Yeah.
And do you value these workers who come in and look after your families,
family.
right? On Mother's Day, we held an event downtown, a flash mob, right on Mother's Day.
Oh, wow.
And it's caregivers who are moms, had their kids in the Philippines, did a flash mob.
Oh my God.
To say this is Mother's Day. Everybody's out celebrating with their families, and they're thinking about their kids who are in the Philippines.
Oh my God, hi.
So to raise that, you know what I mean, creative, but to really bring it and push and challenge.
Right.
Challenge not only the Canadian government, the Canadian people.
Right.
What is our country? What do we believe? And how do we want to what do we want to think about ourselves as Canadians? So that's what we put out there, and caregivers front and center, right, leading the charge. So, yeah,
So
Amazing.
amazing. Oh, please come to California.
But you pushed for campaign reform, right?
Yeah, we brought
Yeah.
campaign reform. We're in government, so we said, we got to make campaigns more equitable. So we banned corporate and union donations. We put a maximum donation amount.
Amazing.
People can only donate $1,200 a year.
I mean, you know
That's
what
it.
kind of Mad Max world we live in?
I know,
in America?
seriously.
I mean, like, it's just.
You would be like scoffed at in Los Angeles, like, right, like that's ever gonna happen.
Our government said, we're going to bring in universal affordable childcare, $10 a day childcare.
Oh my God.
So we started doing that.
I'm gonna cry.
We said, we do have universal health care in Canada, but there's medical service premiums. We said we're going to end medical service premiums.
Oh,
So
wow.
it's the biggest tax cut for middle-class families in the history of BC. We're going to do that. And we're going to bring in an affordable housing strategy. So,
Yeah, Vancouver's super expensive, right?
Yeah. So these are some of the initiatives, right?
that you are all working towards.
that we're working towards, and also engaging the community to support.
I mean, if anything, you're very inspiring to us in that, like, those government and policies are achievable.
Yeah.
Somehow, some way.
Yeah.
Somewhere.
Maybe in LA one day. I mean, we
maybe-
all work in these things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like we for sure will want to keep in touch with you and
Yeah.
maybe touch base with you on like how the strategies that you utilize to get these policies in place, because
Yeah.
a lot of the work that we do is in line thematically with that. I like the flash mob idea. I kind of
Yeah.
want to do something.
I feel like Aki and Filipino Worker Center
Might have done that.
very
Do you know
similar things.
Aki? She works in the Filipino Worker Center
In Los Angeles.
In Los Angeles.
They
Oh,
work
yeah, we should
primarily on.
connect.
Yeah. She
She's a past guest of ours.
She's a past guest of ours. She advocates for caregivers.
Yep.
Filipino worker centers in LA. They have like, it's like, what is the worker group? Like, it's like a membership. All the caregivers are.
Association of Filipino Workers.
Yeah. And so and PWC is like a center for them to advocate for themselves.
Yeah.
And there's other centers like that throughout
Yes.
the country. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Totally.
So we talked about the kind of caregiver issues in
Yep.
the Filipino community. What are some other issues that are affecting Filipinos here in British Columbia, Canada?
Well, I mean, with respect to the work that Lion has been doing, it's when we're looking at, I think I mentioned earlier, the whole finding your identity as a second generation Filipino, or being able to feel connected to the community. There's a lot of young folks, and I guess when I say young, I'm thinking like 30s and under. That's
Like me.
That's us.
That's I know.
I'm the under. Just kidding.
I know. I'm like, are you sure you want to call me youth? It's like,
Hey, we are technically still
take it
here.
when we get
I'm gonna take it. I'm gonna take it.
by UN definitions, right? It's the fact that there's this search for identity, especially when our generation is starting to have kids, and they want to have something to pass down to their kids other than food. Food is a great cultural adhesive, but it's not the complete picture. So when we decided to organize and do something about it, and we asked ourselves, we asked our peers, and really finding out where those gaps are, and it was an overwhelming thing, or an overwhelming exercise to undertake, because there was there's a lot of young people that don't know how to speak Tagalog, and it's like, okay, well, we could hold Tagalog classes, but it's not just about holding Tagalog classes. It's like, well, how come you don't know how to speak Tagalog? But then it's like in other communities, if you were to go to other ethnic groups,
Oh, like Chinese school.
the kids know how to speak that language.
Yeah, I had friends like that.
And then we're now beginning to peel this onion. Like, okay, well, how come this never happened in Filipino households? Oh, it's because, parents were, they wanted their kids to not have an accent. They wanted them to speak English fluently. And then it's like, well, why not? Oh, it's because it's easier for them to get jobs. It's easier for them to fit in, to assimilate.
Yeah, but historically that's incorrect, right, Joe? Like that's that's been the basis for why, like for us, for me, I don't speak Tagalog at all because my parents were told it would confuse
Oh,
me
it's
as a
confusing.
child,
Yeah.
and so it would be it's helpful for me as a child to not learn Tagalog because to switch between two languages
Right.
they thought would make me slow. But data has shown bilingual children actually have an advantage,
Yeah.
and that they are quicker at like processing math and sciences because their brains can code switch or switch up. And I'm like, I'm screwed because I don't know anything. I can read Billboard Spanish.
Billboard Spanish.
That's a real thing, Billboard Spanish. Maybe up here it's like Billboard French.
Yeah. But
Yes,
RJ in Talan, that's like something. For example, if they were to lobby the provincial government to bring in Tagalog in schools in BC.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I heard they did it in where Winnipeg is.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. I mean,
I think she's dropping hints on you. Like she wants to work.
and there's a lot of, and that's the beauty of, I guess just to tie back to that question, I wanted to point out like the hesitancy of the Filipinos in terms of getting political and getting active in that sense. It's that we need to continue to broadcast these successes
Yes.
that Mabel has achieved. We need to broadcast the efforts,
Yes.
even though they're unsuccessful, to show that there is progress despite not succeeding.
What was that quote that you said from Oprah? Failure is knowledge.
Failure is nothing but knowledge.
Is nothing but knowledge.
Failure is that's beautiful. And when you move the conversation from we should have this to we tried, and then people are like, well, did you succeed? And then if you say yes, we did, great. If you say no, we didn't, well, we should try again.
Yeah.
Yeah, you keep going.
Yeah, you keep going.
working.
And that's sort of the beauty of now the community recognizing and realizing its potential, especially when younger people are stepping up, is because we now are beginning to disassociate those negative connotations of politics because a lot of our parents are associating it with like Marcos era
Exactly.
corruptions, right? We're now showing them that, you know what, we're not in this for personal gain and benefit. We're in this because we see the need to help our fellow neighbor, our fellow Canadian.
Kapwa tao,
Yeah,
the
exactly.
Bayanihan spirit, yes.
And then especially when, there's still like, there are still those in the community that are very entrenched in sort of that old school thinking. It's like,
Is it by old school also leaning towards like leaning conservative? Because in the States,
There's a huge Filipino conservative population.
there is,
Local.
is
it here too?
It's, yes.
And the
But
dynamics is different. Like for us, when we think conservative, that's tied to the Republican Party, and then liberal is more the Democratic Party. So I know the dynamic is going to be different up here. So
well, it is, but this is, so it's funny that you mentioned that because I still very much keep in touch with my friends, but it's like when they begin, I've interacted with Filipino Republicans, and when they begin articulating their values, it's more like, well, you know what? You seem to hold certain values that contradict what the actions are. It's like there's this cognitive dissonance on my end when I'm hearing them talk about their values of looking out for their kids, of looking out for their family, of doing these things that benefit everyone as a whole, and then the actual policies that are enacted are contrary to those values. And the thing is, it's like for whatever reason
that's friends back in the States or friends here?
both. I think it's just, and I don't know how sustainable or scalable it is, but I think, at least for me, I've had some success in sitting down with people who've had those, what we would say they've had conservative leanings only by their admission, but then when you dig deep and actually pick out what they value, what they value and what's important to them, and then you begin to tie that to policies that do benefit everybody, you find that those policies are championed by people in the progressive communities.
Interesting.
Yeah, we've got, kind of continuum like there is everywhere else.
Yes.
But, I think that generally it's regarded that the Filipino community in British Columbia and Canada generally is more progressive. There's a higher union density as well. And it also, it comes in, it kind of informed as well by immigration patterns. So those are kind of a couple of different components.
Got it.
That would consider
so like
generally
the textile workers are unionized or
textile workers, but also like in terms of immigrant communities, the Filipino community has a higher than average unionization rate.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh wow.
Yeah, because they work either in hotels or hospitals or healthcare.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
And particularly caregivers who've come in as well. They work in those sectors.
Are there national union organizations in Canada?
Yep.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is I'm learning.
No,
I'm like,
I'm sure a lot of folks out
that's
there,
an interest area as well in terms of we're connecting with those leaders.
Yes.
Filipino leaders.
Yes.
Of national unions and provincial unions as well.
Do
We're
they end up
connecting
going into government or like working on campaigns?
campaigns? Yeah, it's separate, so they're unions as well.
because that's a part of the political machinery where we are.
Right.
The unions will campaign on behalf of certain candidates, so they're the ones who are like working
Labor back
the
or-
labor.
Right,
so the labor will back and like they will do the phone banking or the door knocking on behalf of a candidate. So I was curious if like that's how it works here as well.
It's different.
It's different.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
different. But it's kind of along the engaging folks on the issues
Yeah.
that matter to them. Matter to you, and support those candidates.
And I think
who are
that's
lined up.
kind of the beauty of what you guys were talking about, like not being into politics. Like you were issue based. You wanted something better for the community. I think that's awesome because like there's that's what we need. The interest to be sparked in someone who was never interested or didn't know anything about Canadian politics. Someone who just wanted to make things better for their community, and I think that's amazing.
So we have to cut it short. Unfortunately, we could talk for hours.
Yeah.
But I guess our last question for you all is, if you have to give a message to folks out there who wants to be more politically involved, what would it be?
Yeah, I think because I talk to kids. One of the reasons why I didn't think I would ever be a politician is it wasn't even in my mind, right? Because I didn't see anybody who looked like me. So that's actually, you need to see someone who looks like you. So
Yes.
I say when I speak to kids or, communities, what's in your heart? What's your passion, right? Like, what do you want to achieve? What do you want to, dedicate your life towards? And so I say, trust in that, connect with your passion and follow your passion, right? And have that courage as well. So that's my message. And, if you love it in your heart and you feel that, that's your path, then go for it.
Thank you, RJ.
RJ?
It's much along the same lines. It's so important for our community to see somebody that looks like them, that sounds like them, that talks like them, to be that example that they can follow and build upon. The fact that I think when I last ran, or the first time I ran, I should say, when I went to. I was invited to speak at a number of things, but when I went to speak at the Filipino Students Association at UBC after I had run, the most, I think for me, the most emotional part of that journey was hearing them tell me, I had no idea that we had even city elections, and then I heard from my tita that you were running, and then and it's like, Aquino, that's a last name. It's a Filipino last name, and I should look them up. And then they got involved. They volunteered, and I got to know them, and they're now sort of in our circle of motivated, smart, and organized people that continue to do the same work of. Talking about the issues, building capacity, and ensuring that this doesn't stop, and that's the most important part. Is that upon the courage, building upon the courage that Mabel has mentioned, there's also that persistence that needs to happen. It's like you won't succeed all the time, but when you do, it's such a big step forward that you can't help but build more capacity, because people will notice it, people will pay attention, and then eventually you have this giant movement of folks that are making things happen for the better.
Awesome.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you
good.
so much.
Like amazing work
Thank
that you guys have
thank
done. I
you.
know it's going to continue.
This is awesome.
So, yeah.
And we'll apply for our visa to
Seriously.
to Canada soon.
babe, pack your bags.
Wait, what?
Nothing. Edit that,
Kidding.
please.
No, we're gonna make change where we are.
Yes. We're going to take these inspirations and bring them to our community.
Yes.
We're just going to mooch off the change
some
here.
kind of political cultural exchange.
Yes.
You know,
This is international diplomacy happening right
Yeah,
now.
right here in this room.
Mark this day, right?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, thanks a
Well,
lot.
thank you.
Hey, guys.
Hey, Elaine.
What's up, Elaine?
Did you know that we have T-Pals?
Yes.
What's a T-Pal?
I mean, what?
T-Pals are our Patreons. They joined at patreon.com/TFAL podcast, and they support us every month.
Oh, is that what you announced like one of our episodes? If there's a T-Pal of the episode,
Correct.
so those people are Patreons.
Yes.
Cool.
Really? I actually thought they were random.
This is.
Are you serious?
Are you serious?
Mike is actually serious.
Wow, I'm learning something today.
Yeah.
And also all of you right now.
So if you want to be a T-Pal and surprise Mike, join us at patreon.com/TFAL podcast.
But not only do you get to shout out on the episode, you get cool things as a T-Pal, correct?
Ooh.
Ooh, like what kind of cool things, Ryan?
Like what? Like,
Sometimes you get free giveaways.
oh, like what? Like a sticker?
Yes, like our logo sticker.
What?
Or our new T-Fal Hearts OPM sticker that is inspired by Chicken Joy Division.
And you also get some free books if we get them from the authors. We'll definitely set aside some for our Patreons.
And pictures of me.
I
I'm
can
just kidding.
actually,
No,
I will.
What
Now that-
exclusive Polaroids? Not that kind of Patreon, guys.
Numbered.
That's totally going to be a thing now. I'm going to take pictures of Ryan and give them to the Patreons.
But not only do you get all that, you also get some shout outs or say in some episodes.
That's true.
We'll get your opinions on certain subjects in upcoming episodes. And we'll also, as a new thing, we'll send you some blooper reels of TFAL. Only for the Patreons.
Only for the Patreons?
Only for the Patreons.
Oh, man. If you want some laughs, be a Patreon today.
Ludes, but no nudes.
But if subscribing monthly to TFAL is not your thing, maybe you can support us by giving us a Ko-fi.
Ko-fi? What's that?
It's a one-time donation to this Filipino-American life.
Cool.
Yes, so either do Patreon or Ko-fi. What's the website for Ko-fi, Elaine?
Ko-fi.com/TFAL.
Ko-fi, ko-fi.com/TFAL podcast.
Yes. So thank you very much. Welcome back to TFAL.
Yay!
Yay.
Welcome back.
We are still here in Canada.
Oh, Canada.
You're gonna do that, right?
They won't let us leave for some reason. I don't know.
Oh, well,
that's really good.
Here.
I was saying earlier, the longer and longer I stay here, the more embarrassed I feel about being
Ryan?
American.
Being
But Ryan?
American.
Of Ryan?
So,
And we're just being polite.
but real quick, it was the first time I've heard myself being referred to as an American when we came in earlier. Goes, oh, are you the Americans? I was like, oh, I am. I forgot.
It's like the TV show.
Just the Americans. But it's surprising, but also it's true and it's real. I forgot that we were in Canada.
Yeah, but it's good. It's good
Yeah,
to
it's
be
a
up
good
here.
thing. Yes.
Learn from you all.
It's good to be othered for us so that we don't feel like we are the majority
Yeah.
in the entire world because we suck.
Also,
Wow. Oh my God. What's going on, guys?
We are embarrassed.
We are embarrassed.
This is what we're saying. We really like your universal healthcare here. And
Yeah, I'll make sure to break both of my arms just in case.
yeah, get it taken care of here now while we're here.
So I don't have to worry about it like down the line.
But let us introduce to the audience out there who we're actually talking to. We are talking to some community leaders here in
Woot woot.
Canada. They run and they founded some community organizations, some local Filipino-Canadian, organizations, Tulayan and Camp. Camp stands for Kababayan Academic Mentorship Program. Here we have Marjorie Eda. Welcome.
Hello.
And Maureen Mendoza.
Hi.
How are you?
Hello.
Good. Welcome to Canada.
Yes.
And the sun came out for you, so hey.
Sun.
Brought some California to us.
Yeah.
We have this thing that every time we're inside, like the sun comes out. Every time we go outside, it's raining again. So I don't know.
Temperamental.
Yeah.
They're trying to give us the full experience.
Yes. Well, thank you. Thank you for joining us today. Welcome to TFAL.
Thank you.
I know, Maureen, you've been a listener before. You listened to us before.
A fan over here for, I guess, as long as you've been recording.
Oh my gosh.
No.
Fan.
But welcome, you're a guest today. So wanted to talk about kind of your journey here and kind of politically organizing the community here. First, I want to ask, where did you grow up, and how did you come to live in Vancouver?
Do you want me to go first?
Yeah, you can go first.
I actually was adopted. So my biological mom and my adopted dad are brother and sister. And so my aunt and uncle adopted me and brought me to Canada. They fixed it before I was born, but it didn't go through until I was 2. So that's when I came here.
Wow.
Yeah. And so back home, I had 3 brothers and sisters, but here I was an only child. So, and then I would get sent back home to the Philippines for like summers to go live with my biological family. And then that's how I think I probably developed a more like inherent connection to considering Philippines as home and kind of that transnational connection, and I guess questions of identity coming up sooner for me than maybe a lot of my peers.
Oh my God, it sounds like a movie or a teleseries. The like whole experience. Sorry, I view things from
It would be if I didn't know, and if it was a secret.
Oh yeah, was it not a secret?
No, it wasn't a secret.
Oh, okay, so then it's not.
Elaine's script is completely different.
I know. Oh, wait a minute.
More or less, you were raised here.
Yeah, I was
And
born
went to the
and
Philippines a
yeah,
lot.
Yeah, went to the Philippines a lot. Yeah, not so much anymore now, but yeah.
How about you, Marjorie?
I was born in Ilocos Norte. So I'm Ilocana. And I was raised there until I was 10. And then we moved to Penticton, which is kind of in the interior BC. So like 5 hours drive away from Vancouver. So we went from like the boonies of Ilocos Norte to the boonies of Canada. So that's kind of how I got my first introduction into Canada. Was like, wait, like I thought I was going to see buildings and stuff, and I didn't. So
Wait, what did you see then?
just like mountains and lakes.
Different mountains.
Yeah, and like different smells. Yeah, it was very different. But yeah, it
Very
was,
rural or like farm? Is it farm area? or?
it's a lot of wineries and
Wineries.
orchards. So
Oh.
yeah, I guess it is like that. So I came from the rice paddies to wineries and orchards.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
It feels very much like a weird upgrade or weird like not upgrade, but like farm to farm.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah,
Okay.
basically.
A different teleseries.
Different teleseries. Oh my God.
Like a Lifetime or
Oh my
Hallmark
God.
Channel teleseries.
It was like, oh, I work in the rice paddies. Then I work in the wineries.
So you know what Ryan and Elaine watched there.
And
So-
when did you come to the Vancouver area?
I came to Vancouver when I was 18, so just right after high school. I had been plotting my escape from the small town life at 14, just because I was just missing that Filipino component. Even though I grew up with Filipino families in Penticton, it was actually, I didn't have anyone in my grade who was Filipino, so I was the only Filipino in my class for a very long time. So knowing that Vancouver had a large Filipino community and Asian community, this is where I really wanted to be. So as soon as I was done high school, I was like, I'm out of here, peace.
Like, peace out.
Yeah. Here I come, Vancouver.
Did you go to University of BC?
Um,
Or you just came out here?
I just came out here. I told my mom I was coming out for work. No, actually, I was coming out for school. Then I didn't go to school. I just went to work, and I was like, I will go to school when I want to go to school.
Wait, was this secret? We have to edit this out.
Is that a teleseries?
Dun, dun, dun.
This series is getting more and more intense.
I know. I'm like, what is this? We're like totally scripting something right now.
Yeah, my mom was really different. Like, she wasn't the one who would tell me what to do. She just kind of let me do what I wanted to do. And she's so wise because she said, if I had told you what I wanted you to do, you'd have just rebelled. And I was like, oh, you're so wise. Thanks for doing that. Yeah.
Wow.
So how did you both get into, community stuff, Filipino community stuff here in Vancouver?
You want me to go first?
Yeah.
I guess I really came into learning about our community and our history. When I was in university, there were local organizations, the Philippine Women's Center, and being involved in the Filipino Students Association. I actually came upon it by circumstance. I was doing my undergrad thesis, and I had two options. It was community gardens or Filipino students at UBC. So my life could have looked really different.
Wow.
If
It could be both.
at the time it wasn't. It was
Right.
definitely not. And I was
You could
working
be a master gardener,
right.
instead of a community organizer.
And what had happened was I was working at the International Student House, and somebody from the Filipino Students Association came up to book a room, and I was like, I'm actually looking for you all because I don't know any Filipinos on campus, but I want to study the Filipino experience. And then he's like, oh, come out to our meeting. And then I came to the meeting, set up interviews, and that's how I got connected with the Filipino Students Association. And then from there, it kind of seems like history.
Awesome.
How about you, Marjorie?
For me, it was actually also starting university. I was in my class and they had asked about, they told us to describe our mother. And I felt a panic rise in me that I've never felt before because my mom was a caregiver. So she was gone from our lives for 7 years. So I didn't grow up with my mom or my dad. And so when we moved to Canada through the family reunification program, I had missed my whole childhood with her. So that brought up a whole lot of, resentment and anger and all of these things while growing up in a small town. And so fast forward to university, and I was in class, and they told us, tell us about your mom. And I was like, and I started bawling.
Oh my God. Did you just have flashes of the movie Anak then? Oh my God.
No, actually, interestingly enough, in that moment, it became very clear to me that I wasn't the only one who had ever felt this way. I wasn't the only one who was mad at their mom, but also loved their mom so much. And it dawned on me that there were thousands, if not in the millions of children and families who were, separated from their mom for all of these years and feeling the same feelings that I had felt. And so my teacher actually at the end of it said, I think you should connect with your community. And so that kind of led me into Migrante BC, who's they're a grassroots organization here and worldwide as well. And through that, I started, organizing with them. And then that led me to Tulayan. So it was
What class was this that the professor would tell you you should connect with your community?
Oh, it was in early childhood education.
Wow. Oh, okay.
So
Makes sense. Yeah.
she was like, I think you should write a book about it. And then you should also go and find an organization in your community to reconnect.
Where's the book, Marge?
I know. I know. I still haven't done it.
No pressure.
It's okay. It's okay. No pressure.
But we're waiting. Can you tell us what you mentioned Tulayan, and I know. Can you tell us what Tulayan is for our audience out there who don't know what the word Tulayan means or what Tulayan means?
Yeah, well, Tulayan is a Tagalog word that just means to bridge a gap or just to bridge. So Tulayan itself is basically a bridge it's a community powered network that bridges Filipinos, either either you're 1.5, if you know that term, like you were born in the Philippines and raised here, to like second generation, third generation Filipinos who basically want to learn about their identity as far as like culture, language, and history goes. So we connect all of that together.
Okay.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And you do it with students, children, or all across, like all ages, or mostly younger folks?
When we first started it was, I would say, like young adults, like 20s to 30s. It spans kind of like that age range from like 20 to like maybe 35, and even we have Filipino friends who are 40s and above who
Young at
just
heart.
like who are just don't age. So
Like us. The elders.
I don't know what you're talking about. I am not an elder.
I'm still in my 30s, yo.
Yes, same.
So it kind of spanned that, and now that we've been around for a little bit longer, it's actually now expanded to probably like university students, and now like we have kids as well. So it's expanded, but that's how we originally began, was that age range from like 20 to 35. Let's just be
30
generous.
question mark.
What kind of programs do you do?
So our first programming that we really did was Tagalog lessons. And that was, we actually had an actual like linguistics teacher who came, and he was Filipino as well, who taught us like who taught like Tagalog lessons to adults from like zero experience with Tagalog all the way to maybe like you're semi-conversational fluent. But a majority of the adults who actually wanted to learn Tagalog were didn't know anything, so that was really cool to be able to kind of give them like the basic foundation of what Tagalog was.
That's awesome.
And yeah, like we also did like movie nights, so we had like Shake, Rattle, and Roll.
Wait, what?
Tagalog movie.
It's a Tagalog movie. It's like a scary movie, which like I was there going like, I can't watch
1, 2,
this.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. I think they're up to 13.
Is that how it goes?
Yeah,
Whoa.
Shake Rattle. I think Shake Rattle and Roll is like a forever series.
It's like Manapo.
Maybe.
Yeah, so like, and then we had food centered evenings, and then the biggest one that we had was when we had, I don't know if you guys know Carlos Celdran. He's a performance artist from Manila, and he has this walking tour kind of performance show that he does in Intramuros, which is the historic Manila site. And he was able to bring that show to Vancouver using Vancouver landmarks in place of the Manila historic sites. So that was really cool, because that was a really big tour that he held in Manila for a long time. Yeah.
Nice. How about camp?
How did it start?
How did it start, and what is it?
So camp is a mentorship program for newly arrived youth, and it bridges, in some ways it's Tulayan as well. It bridges post-secondary students with newly arrived students in local high schools. And it really started as kind of just like an experiment. We had someone in the club who was a youth worker in the high schools, and one of the multicultural liaison workers said, like, there's a huge demand for a program for Filipino youth. And so do you have people who can come in? So we just started on Fridays, and it's been going on for 10 years now, I think 2000 or almost 11 years. And it's different iterations. I think we say it is an academic mentorship program, but it feels like so much more, because really at its heart, it's all about relationship building with the youth first. Like, you can't get them to open their books unless you build that relationship with them, that ate kuya kind of piece. And I think inherent in Filipino culture, and this is why it works in the school system, is because in the school system it's missing that kind of kinship aspect to what they're used to. Building off of what Marge's experience is kind of like, that's all kind of like the students that we see. They've been separated from their parents. And we talk a lot about kind of representation in higher education, and we really can't get there if we're not graduating students. And there's kind of like mixed kind of stats out there around dropout rates, and it's kind of like an incomplete picture. So we like to kind of frame it in terms of educational incompletion. Like, you know, students can graduate, they can complete in night school, they can go to vocational colleges, but are they kind of achieving the maximum educational opportunity that they could if they were given the right resources, the right supports. So it's also kind of like a commentary on the school system and what it lacks. And so we're kind of fighting like a systemic battle through really a relational approach.
Do Filipinos get folded into so in the States there's like the model minority myth where like all Asian American API students are like they're all smart and good at math and all these things, but then if you disaggregate the data, Southeast Asian students, especially like Filipino Americans, Cambodian Americans, and Vietnamese American students, don't have the rate of success.
Yeah.
And so is it a similar pattern here in Vancouver?
I was part of a research study back in 2012 with a researcher at York University, and what he found was in every immigrant community, or South Asian in specific, he found that there was that kind of educational minority bump. So like every visible minority group, the second generation always experiences upward mobility and success compared to their immigrant parents, first generation, except in Filipinos.
Yeah.
And also usually like the kids become more educationally successful, except with Filipinos. And in every immigrant community, it's males do better than females, but in the Filipino community, females do better than males. So there's something really interesting happening.
But there's no kind of lumping in like that data.
No,
isn't
I wouldn't say
hidden.
that we fall into a model minority at all. I think we kind of fall into we're not a model minority. We're not good at math. We're not
But what I'm saying is like the government doesn't think, oh, Filipinos doing okay because all Asian immigrant groups are doing okay. That's the problem. That's a problem with a lot of places in the United States.
Yeah, I think there's certain reasons why we don't get the support, and it might not necessarily be because we're like a model minority, but it's like, you know, we're kind of invisible minority in that sense. We kind of fly under the radar. We speak English, you know, we're a Catholic country, so that's considered safe as well.
Was there a finding as to why that study was like determining that Filipinos were not having upward mobility?
Well, I think they linked it very closely to like the systemic issues related to our migration pattern.
Got it.
And because of that, there were so many issues around kind of.
Does that paper exist somewhere? Can like
yeah. Yeah.
I will ask you about it later. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, so the mentorship program, how have like kind of the immigrant or newly arrived Filipinos, how have they kind of received the mentorship?
I would say, I mean, it's changed so much over the years. We're still in touch with some of our alumni from early years. We've done, in the past 3 years, we've been able to do a summer camp, which has been like kind of taking it to a whole other level where, I don't know, Pacific Northwest camping culture is big, but Filipinos, like, we barely get to go outside of the city. It's not something that we do. Like camping, what is that? What do you mean you want to live like in the forest?
You just came here. You want to go back
it's for. To be fair, it's actually like very glamorous. It's catered, and we have cabins and
glamping.
Like it's glamping, and so, but to be able to enrich that experience outside of the classroom has been really great, and expand our horizons beyond just, you know, like helping you with homework. And it's never really been about homework. It's been about showing up, being consistent, having role models, having people who look like you, who can speak like you. And on the mentor side, it's not just to the benefit of the mentees, it's to the benefit of mentors who for the first time might be engaging in community work, exploring their own issues of identity, finally like linking their experiences to the ones that they see, whether they're the same or they're different. So we have mentors who come that say, this was my experience, I want to help because this was me and I never had that, versus like, I'm second gen, I had no idea this is happening in my community. Wow. But this has made me aware of like my responsibility to the community now.
And you started this as sort of like you said, an experiment. And successful at that. I mean, 10 years and going. I'm curious about on the university level, like you talked about how on the university level you have folks that were youth mentors already. Is there something that exists there? Like, I don't know, in like the Filipino clubs, is there like kind of mentorship? Is it active in some of the universities here?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely like when we started, we definitely looked to the States and the California system in terms of what was out there in terms of Filipino organized, like or formal organizing in post-secondary institutions. And I guess I've been able to see like the different iterations of it. And it's just really hard because when you don't have, like when we were just trying it out, we didn't have kind of people to follow. Yeah. And then when we graduate, like you can only do so much to hold it, and like the nature of student clubs. Right. And that's why I think it's really important, you know, everywhere you talk about the pipeline and why that's really important. And at some point you just have to have faith that there will be others who will step up, and that when they are, like, you're there to support them. We just did like a 10-year kind of like evaluation. We partnered with a professor at UBC. We hired mentors to be like student researchers and train them in research methods, to interview other mentors to see like what would you like the next version of this, like the next 10 years to look like.
Like you're always doing assessments so that you can grow.
Well, it's not always like, this was the first time we actually took stock of like what has worked in the 10 years. Like we were so busy just trying to like do something and be in the schools, doing the work, and nobody's paid, like nobody's full-time doing this. And so it's like being able to actually hear from the students, like what would they like to see. Like it's really good in terms of like visioning for what the next 10 years can look like. So it might look really different. Who knows?
Do you find it for both Tulayan and for camp, do you find it difficult to find other Filipinos to get more involved in your, not necessarily in the community, as well as kind of your specific community organizations? Because I guess in the States, and especially you know, in certain cities, it's usually always the same people doing a lot of the work,
and then there's burnout, and
there's burnout and all that stuff, and sometimes organizations die. Do you find it difficult to sustain some of the work that you do, or do you find easy to find people to get more involved and to grow the organizations?
I would say that it is harder to actually sustain organizations, especially if, like, say, the same people keep doing the work, right? Yeah. Like for Tulayan as well, like we've been around for 10 years, and there was a period of time when, you know, we didn't have anything. We didn't have any programming because life happened, right? So like people had kids, and kids tend to take up a lot of your time. I moved away for a year to Australia. So like for a few years, there was nothing that we were offering. But I think part of that too is just maybe we're just not as visible as we used to be. And so maybe that's why there's not as much engagement, or people don't know that we're out here doing this work. But definitely now that we're actually getting older, this is why we're looking at longevity, because we actually want to be bringing in people who are, you know, like maybe at the university level. So maybe like after something like camp, they can go into something that would maybe kind of bring in like new blood, for example, so that you can keep it going. So that like for me, like when I want to go and have kids and have a family, like I'm not tied down to just doing Tulayan work, right? So I think, yeah, like it is hard to actually sustain organizations for the long haul, and you really do have to start taking a look at, you know, what are our strategies to bring members in, and how do we keep them, and how do we give them really the incentive to actually keep it going beyond us, because I don't think that I don't feel like I'm going to be around for doing the same work over maybe another decade. So it's really up to us to really pass it down to the next generation to keep it going.
I totally agree with Marge.
Yeah.
And I think part of the goal of community organizing is to be building capacity within youth, within people below you. It's hard when you don't really have people above you
Right.
to look to as models.
You're trailblazing, basically.
Yeah, in certain ways. I mean, like you do have models, but at the same time, like I think recognizing that is your responsibility, and even with youth work, like being in your early 30s, I'll just say that
30 question marks. Yes.
Me.
like I haven't done like on the ground mentorship for like years, knowing that it's actually more relevant for us to be passing that on to university mentors, because like they don't relate to us anymore. Like I don't get the jokes, I don't get like
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
you know what's fun or like
What's popular
interesting
these
to them.
days.
Yeah. And so, you know, like even just recognizing what connects with the people you want to serve with, and actually like involving them in the process. So it's like really trying to have a student-led decision making, and to say like, you know, the university mentors are really best place for it, because they have the time. They think they don't have the time, but they actually have the most time. And they've only been 1 or 2, 3, 4 years away from where these students used to be, and so that's where we find the most point of connection. But it's true. It's around kind of building that sustainability, and so looking
wanted
for
them
the
to
first
own
and
it,
second
right.
years to really get them at the beginning, so that you can have them for at least 4 years.
Right. How are you guys funded? Like the organizations? I'm just curious to know.
It's all volunteer led. I mean, there's no.
Same. We're not funded.
Wow.
We have no funding. Absolutely none. So Tulayan in Camp 2 has just been volunteer led. We do fundraising when we can, and then I mean, at the off chance, like some of us have actually been able to apply for grants, like small grants, like up to $500, just to do like Tagalog storytime lessons for the like last couple of years. But I mean, really, it's like when we get funding, it's like under 500, and then everything else is just volunteer, and it's our own money.
Yeah.
So, and time and effort. So yeah, there's really no
And you
significant
guys
funding
been
that we get.
doing it for 10 years. Kudos to my goodness.
which is part of why I think partnerships are really strong,
Yes.
need to be
Yeah.
strong. So we don't have overhead costs in terms of renting space,
Sure.
because we partner with the school board. We do it at the schools. Sometimes the school board can be like, we can provide snacks.
Wow. What?
Yeah.
That's unheard of.
Yeah, and so, but we draft a whole agreement at the beginning saying this is what camp gives, this is what the school board will give, and all of it is like
Yeah.
in lieu. And the only reason why we were able to do summer camp was there was someone in the community who came up to us and was like, I have no time. I do have the money. Here's $5,000. Fundraise the rest.
Wow.
So we fundraised like an additional $10,000, and then that's how we brought
How
everyone
did you
to summer
fundraise
camp.
$10,000?
Online, like personal
GoFundMe
donations. Yeah,
or stuff like
GoFundMe, or the Canadian equivalent. And as well, we did an acoustic night, so like local
Shows and
performers.
stuff.
Yeah.
Bake sale, car wash. Is that what?
No bake sales and no car washes, which is like amazing.
Like chocolate bars, oranges.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Are there a lot of other organizations doing similar work in the Filipino community? Are you like connected or linked up with any of the other ones throughout the province, or even like across the board in the United States? I mean,
good question.
who else are you guys connected with, or are you two the only
Partner
organizations
with,
out
yeah.
there trying to do these kind of things?
No, I don't think so. I know that there are like mentorship programs, or just even like youth programs, like even with churches, like there's so many kind of like ad hoc programs. I know that we're one of the few that actually partners with schools. That kind of makes us different, and then one of the few that like recruits from like post-secondary in specific. Yeah.
And with the church, it's like there's usually going to be like a scripture or like
there's totally a religious component.
Angle, right?
Yeah.
So you all do it out of like you want to build community with fellow Filipino Canadians. So this
Yes.
is why you're doing this advocacy work.
Yeah.
How have parents kind of received some of the programming that you do for their children?
I think as far as like we've been doing Tagalog story time for the past couple of years now. Usually the parents are like so gung ho about their kids learning Tagalog for the first time, because most of the time they're also learning Tagalog for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
So they get to learn Tagalog at the same time, and there's just so much pride. I think now it's different, because back when we were growing up, like our parents were like, no, be as Canadian as possible. Whereas now we've seen the detrimental effects of the disconnect with our culture and our heritage. So now there's just so much pride in learning about our heritage and learning Tagalog, and maybe not just even Tagalog, but other Filipino like dialects, right? So there's just a lot of excitement, a lot of interest. Like there's a high demand for the Tagalog story time that we have, even just because people are now realizing that in order for us to really start to own who we are as a people, it's important for us to actually know where we come from, to know that we are not just like here trying to get by and survive, but to really thrive as a community. There's a lot of pride in what we feel we're doing. Yeah.
If you had like a magic donor of money to be able to do something either together or for the Filipino community, I'm just curious, like, what do you think you would put it towards? Aside from like the program that you already do, is there a community space that's lacking? Is it like to kind of incubate more organizations? Is it to build more capacity to have an actual paid staff? What does it look like for like a future of a really grassroots volunteer organization such as yourselves to get something like that? What would that look like? If you guys had like a dream.
Yeah, I'd like to quit my job and just do this stuff full time. I've been saying it for 10 years.
Yeah.
That's what we say about TFAL.
For myself, it is to kind of to have positions that can be community connectors, whether or not there's spaces or not. Like there's tons of spaces in the city that you can use. There is something special about having your own, I believe. Sure. But at the same time, I would also want to see like resources put in so that we can kind of create systemic change within the school systems. Yeah. In higher ed, create representation there. So kind of having that institutional presence. Because we can be doing stuff on the side, but if we actually don't get into the systems, we don't have the counselors, the teachers, all of that, then we're just going to be fighting from within.
Yeah.
And even like something as small as, like, say for example, having Tagalog books in the children's section at the libraries. One of the only Filipino librarians in our city is the
Tita Eri.
Tita Eri, what's up? She's the one who's been having to fight with the Vancouver Public Library to say our books belong in our libraries. And the library is saying no one's taking them out. If they're not being utilized, then we got to pull them out. And we're saying they're going to come, leave it there.
Oh, that's
right.
So sad.
So I've gone to like libraries in the West End, like West Side of the
just start
city, and like start
books
taking out
out.
books.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding. Like I will go there and take out library books just so that there's like, oh, someone's taking out these
the
books.
book.
It's just me.
But also, like, what if they were like audiobooks or ebooks? Because like the medium with the books, like hardcore books, it is coming back. It's on the rise, right? But like in terms of like library usage, like I use my library card all the time for audiobooks and ebooks. So I'm like, if they had it online, I bet they could track. Like, y'all could like borrow them online, and then you'd be like, oh, see?
Yeah.
So unfortunately, we have to wrap up. But I just want to say,
So
you
short.
do. I know.
No, talk to you forever.
You do great work for the community. We need more of you
Yes.
here in the States, throughout Canada. And thank you again for coming here.
Thank you for
Yeah.
doing the work
And-
that you were doing with your
and for the
communities.
work. Yeah, absolutely.
And thank you so much for connecting and helping us realize that the community is just one.
Yeah.
It is.
That we're all doing
Yeah.
kind of the same thing.
Yeah. And if there are any millionaires out there who want
Seriously.
to angel invest in Tulayan or Camp or TFAL, like, come find us. We'll be here. Because, like, our dream, we've talked about it. Like, our dream is, like, I call it the Black Panther model, and not Black Panther like the progressive activist group in Oakland. I mean Black Panther the movie. How, like, at the end, oh, sorry, spoiler alert if you haven't seen it, but like the dude buys like a bunch of buildings in Oakland, and then he's like, I want this to be my center. It's gonna be the STEM Academy. This is gonna be this. And like, we were watching it, and like, legit, I was like crying, like, that's what we want to do in our community.
Yeah.
So, yo, millionaires,
Yeah.
if you
Give
have
back.
that, give back.
Give back.
Let us
Give
buy
back to the people you did. You took resources from.
Seriously.
Yes, but thank you so much for all the work that you are doing.
Thank you so much for
Thank
having
you.
us.
Yes,
Thanks for
thank
having
you.
us.
This Filipino American Life is produced by Michael Nailat. Our intro and outro music is by Roger Habon, aka 10.4 Raj. Resident reality checker Girly Colado, legal advisor Rianne Fajardo, and graphic design by Vincent Collyer.